Good evening, Viking fans. This is Purple and Gold for Days. I am Justin. She is Kyla, and our compatriot Mike Castellino. This is a Purple Code production, originally known as A Day with Mike and Kyla, which has now been rebranded as Skol for Days with Mike and Kyla. Don't ask me who made that decision. First and foremost, everybody, this team, somehow, some way, we are 10-2. Somehow, some way, we found a way to look like we might actually have a nice, simple win with a 2-touchdown lead at half. Nah, we still going to almost have our heart attacks. Before we get started, I'm going to hit the sponsor list up here. We have Rinaldi's Pizza and Pasta in Woodbury. They're on Wood Lane Drive off of I-494 and Valley Creek Road. And, of course, we also have Nautical Bowls located in Woodbury on Hudson Place off the intersection of Woodbury Drive and I-94. Mike, we always let the lady go first. Kyla, what do you think of this ridiculousness that was the game yesterday?
I don't know. I feel like at this point I'm tired. I am mentally and emotionally tired. In a good way. We're 10-2, but will we ever play a normal game? Ever?
I don't know. Probably not. Probably next season would be my guess. They'll play a normal game. They had a halfway decent game against the Packers week 1. They got destroyed by Philadelphia and Dallas, and pretty much everything else has been down to the wire. We're not going to make this easy. We're going to, in fact, not make it easy. We're going to make it harder on ourselves just for the fun of it here. Good evening, Gold Brand Toy. I'm just going to say Toy Box. Mike, your initial thoughts on the game, as crazy as it was.
Well, I'm going to say this, Justin. Mute me before I go too long because I'm going to be here for a little while. Look, the fact that it was 20-6 at halftime, and the fact that it came down to Mike White having to throw an interception, disgusting. And, I get that Kirk was not good yesterday, but, what are we doing? How does this happen every single time? Enough with these breaks. I'm so sick of it. I'm sick of it. You can almost bet the house. Third quarter comes along, no points. They won't score in the third quarter. They don't know what that is.
Abysmal in the third quarter.
Can we play 3-quarter games?
Yeah.
And then just put on the Jumbotron. It's the fourth.
But then the fourth would be the third, and we'd
I
lose
guess.
every game.
Let's play hockey. 3 periods now. So the third one is actually fourth quarter time.
But in all seriousness,
yeah,
I can't stand this. And look, I'm happy we're 10-2. Okay, I'm over the moon about it. We all would have taken this. And you're lying if you said you wouldn't. I don't care about the score differential, the point difference. People are stretching now because it's a Kirk Cousins team that's 10-2, and people don't like that.
Right.
But in all seriousness, they've got to be more consistent. Look, I'm sorry. It's not too much to ask to win a game by 10 points. Enough.
Are you sure?
Enough. No. It's Justin, I'm going to say it now. This motivation by the Vegas about giving the Lions as the favorite by 1 point.
Right.
This is the week it happens.
As far as Vegas, here's the thing. You get 3 points for being at home. So if they're a 1-point underdog, that means they believe that the Vikings would be a 2-point favorite on a neutral field, and they're still giving them 1. But to your point, I'm going to throw a little Vince Lombardi in as to what in the heck is going on with this betting line. Exactly. Please explain to me how a team with 10 wins is an underdog to a franchise that is notoriously garbage. I don't get it.
Because we're a mess. They're messy. This team, other than the Packers win, every win has been messy AF. And the Lions look awesome on offense right now.
Well, what would our offense look like if we were playing the Jacksonville Jaguars? Would we still be – well, no.
Don't even say that. We would make it close. You know we would.
I think we'd beat Jacksonville by at least 9. Their defense is so bad.
It is, but we can't.
Go ahead. Sorry.
We would if the Jags had a somewhat good third quarter offensively, which they could do on our defense.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to say this though, before I complain too much. We do have the 8th hardest straight of schedule. That is a big part of it.
Yeah, that's true.
The Bills are a good team. Jets are a good team. Eagles are a good team. Cowboys are a good team. In those two of those games we got absolutely destroyed. New England's a good team. Miami's a good team. So it wasn't like we played a bunch of sloppies all year. Washington's a good team.
As it turns out, that win is looking better now. And yes, we have to throw the asterisk on Miami without their starter, but it's not our fault.
You know, and I want to say this about this fraud stuff. Everyone's wanted to call the Vikings frauds. The Dolphins got decimated yesterday to Brock Purdy. And I don't want to hear it. They lost by double digits to Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant. If the Vikings did that, Kirk Cousins would be all over the national media. 2 a dozen. 3 picks, 2. By the way, 3.
Yeah.
It's fine.
You ain't lying. No,
Niners
you ain't lying.
Scary to me.
I'll say this. I have always had my doubts about Kirk Cousins. Yesterday, we're going to call it the mulligan game. For the team, the mulligan game was Dallas. But for Kirk, he gets his mulligan game yesterday because he didn't need to use his mulligan game against Dallas because he had absolutely no shot. So he was off, and he was off from the start. He was off on the first.
Yeah.
So for the stands out there who want to say, well, you know, he got his bell rung on that ridiculously awesome first down run. Let me preface by saying that was ridiculous how he got out of pressure and scrambled for that first down. Took a big hit. Yeah, he did. He also took a big hit on the last drive of the first half where from where I saw the ball go, I don't know if that was a catchable ball to Thielen or if that was just Thielen not bringing it in. You know, somebody would have said, well, prime Adam Thielen brings that in, maybe. But he took a shot in the back that would have been a roughing the passer call if it was Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Josh Allen. He got a step and a half to run at that guy's back. It hurt me watching him. I was like, oh, that must have really, so with it padding or not. So I'm not going to excuse Kirk Cousins because those things happened after he had already airmailed a couple of guys. Second half airmailing TJ Hawkinson, like seriously. So I'll give him his mulligan, but that's it. You play like that in a playoff game. You show up like that in a playoff game, just like you show up against Dallas in a playoff game, you're going to get spanked. So that's my thought there.
Yeah, and the offensive line was no excuse yesterday because he had time to make passes, and he was missing them bad.
What are your thoughts, Mike?
First off, you know there's Kirk Cousins stands and Kirk Cousins haters.
Yeah.
I am an Ed Ingram stand. I have not given up. I have been there since day one. My boy's turning it around. Last 4 weeks or 3 weeks, 4.3% pressure rate, down from 10%. He's coming around, people. And there was a play that made me very happy. He absolutely bullied Quinn Williams. He's a strong dude. But anyway, on Kirk Cousins, it was a 5 out of 10 performance. And this is the thing that I defend Kirk about all the time. And the one reason why he gets away with some games where, at least this season, where he hasn't been great, is he doesn't turn the ball over. He doesn't. Not in big spots. Yeah, had we turned the ball over yesterday, had he thrown a pick, we lose. Yeah. I'll say it right now. We lose. Yeah.
The entire team's been amazing at not turning the ball over, and that's why big reason why we're 10-2.
We're second in turnover differential. Everyone wants to talk about point differential. We're second.
That's amazing.
In turnover differential.
Yeah.
You don't, like, this is the thing. And I want to make this clear. I want to get this off my chest because it's annoying me. We're not frauds. You're 10-2. Now, do I think they're as good as that record? No. You don't get 10-2 by accident. That does not happen. It's not humanly possible. You cannot win that many games if you were not a good football team. I've had enough of that discussion. I'm sorry. The Miami Dolphins have lost 3 games. Kansas City Chiefs have lost 3 games. The Buffalo Bills have lost 3 games. The Niners have lost 4 games. I am so sick of this narrative. And look, do I think the Vikings are a 10-2 team when it comes to being a perfect unit? No. But I'm so sick and tired of this narrative that we're garbage. It is ridiculous. It is dumb. And I swear, it's because Kirk Cousins is the quarterback. If the quarterback was Case Keenum, everyone would be saying, hallelujah, praise the Lord. I swear.
Well, if the quarterback was Case Keenum, it would be that way because he's not as good as Kirk is. and he's not making $30 million.
But to my point, Justin, I just named the first quarterback that came out of my head. If it was Favre doing the same thing,
right?
And had the same stat lines, it would be a different narrative. Now, look, I'm not Kirk's biggest fan by any means, and he wasn't good yesterday. He wasn't.
He was legit bad.
Yeah,
but he was not bad enough to backbreak us. And you do have to give a quarterback, because this is the thing. Everyone thinks quarterbacks have perfect games. Every QB has at least 2 bad games every season.
Right.
That's all I got to say.
Well, where I see where you're going with it is the team is this is going to come off weird, but I'm going to say it like this and follow me for a second. The team is slightly overrated when it comes to what they are record-wise versus what they probably should be. 10-2 is exceeding their talents. It's exceeding their play. They realistically probably
8-4.
8-4, maybe 7-5, worst case, probably 8-4, 9-3. But at 10-2, they have shown that they are greater than the sum of the parts, that they are winning on the margins, so to speak. They're winning in areas that, it's not because they're more talented, but they found ways via coaching to, be better in certain situations. What's up, David? Thanks for joining us. You've got a very good point. We said that a few moments ago, maybe before you joined, about how tough and durable Kirk Cousins is. But thank you for your comment. Keep them coming, everybody in the chat. We do appreciate them. So I get your point. But if you're telling me it's Kansas City against the Vikings in the Super Bowl, who are you favoring?
Sure. I absolutely.
Buffalo.
Same with Buffalo.
All those teams you named.
Same with Philly. Yeah.
I just don't know why it matters. Like, I could care less if everyone says we're a fraud. In fact, I almost prefer people to ignore us. I feel like the Vikings, when people start giving us attention, that's like a sure thing that we're going to go out on like some primetime game and just like people started giving us attention. And then look what happened when we played Dallas. We got smoked. So I don't care. Like, if a bunch of media people call us frauds as a bunch of Packer fans or like a fraudulent team, it doesn't actually change anything. So I don't really care. Like, it is annoying to kind of feel like your team's like doing well and getting ignored, but you know what? Let them ignore the Vikings. And like, at the end of the day, we're going to the playoffs. So
Kyla gets one of these, Mike. Kyla, there you go. That's for you. Because I say the same thing. This isn't college football or any other sport that gets you to the playoffs based on rankings by some consensus committee somewhere. And I also agree with Kyla that the Vikings are notorious for when they have no expectations, they exceed the expectations. And when they have expectations, they underperform. In 2009, after week 3, there were expectations. Before they signed Favre, they're like, well, our expectation is going to be to win the division and maybe get to the divisional round of the playoffs. When you sign a guy like Brett Favre, your expectations go up accordingly. In 1998, 97, before they drafted Randy Moss, they were the 6th seed. It was during the Brett Favre, Mike Holmgren heyday in their prime, back-to-back Super Bowl appearances. And the Vikings were always only a wild card because, they had an outstanding team in their division. So your expectations was, well, maybe the Packers are slightly coming back a little bit after, their 3 consecutive NFC championship games. And maybe the Vikings can be a little bit of this now that Brad Johnson is healthy again because he had that neck injury in 97. As soon as they drafted Randy Moss, and as soon as you saw one preseason game with how ridiculous Randy Moss was, it's no longer those, mediocre expectations. What did we say going into this season, Mike? Divisional round of the playoffs is your minimum expectation. Anything less than that is a failed season. And when we were called out as saying it's a first-year GM and a first-year head coach, I said phooey to that because you didn't take advantage of what a first-year coach gets in having a bad roster or trading away pieces. When you make the decision to run it back, basically the same but for guys like Zadarius Smith and a couple other pieces, Phillips and that sort of deal. You don't get that first year honeymoon period anymore. So I said, and this was before the season starts, and you agree with me, Mike, divisional round of the playoffs. If you lose in the wild card round or you don't make the playoffs, that is a failed season.
Absolutely.
Now, I'm not going to say that if they lose in the divisional round of the playoffs by the skin of their teeth because of some crazy thing, I'm not going to say that that's below expectations. But by and large, but for a scenario like that, the expectations for this season to be any kind of success is the NFC Championship game minimum. Kyla, do we have too much pressure on these guys? What do you think?
Yeah, no, I don't feel the same way. Just watching every game, the defense is not good. And I don't mean to take away, because they had points yesterday where they did really well. Their red zone defense was insane. The red zone defense won us the game. And thankfully we were perfect in the red zone offensively.
Right.
But they just give up way too many big plays to not good quarterbacks. I just don't see us, I hope I'm wrong, but if we lose in the divisional round, facing a team like the Niners or something like that, I wouldn't see it as a fail. I feel like the Niners are a better team than the Vikings. The Eagles are a better team than the Vikings.
Cowboys
are a better team than the Vikings. And I would love for them to go and surprise us. I feel like there are better all around teams in the NFC. So of course I'd love to be wrong, but that's not really my expectation.
Can I say something quickly? Since it is the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah.
You remember and this is not me making this up off the top of my head, Justin. We've said this on air. The Vikings are never going to win Super Bowl the typical way, right? We've agreed on this.
Sure.
Well, there's no more non-typical way than using the definition of the Uno reverse card, winning games, so many games by one score, being the complete polar opposite of 98, to where you cannot win a game by more than basically 7 points all year. It would be so Vikings for them to click in the postseason, because it's just goes against all logic and common sense that they would get better throughout a season when they cannot win games by more than 7 points.
Right.
That's the Vikings. It will not be logical. So there's that. And one last thing, I do want to say this about the defense. And I agree with Kyla. They're not good. We'd be lying if we said they were a good defense. But what they are is clutch. Yes. There's something to be said. When you do this many times, you're not a bad defense. The thing is, they're not great and they're not good. They're just average. And it's frustrating, but I think that's just the reality now. As we've talked about, Justin, a million times, they are who they are.
I wanted to make a quick point to what you said, because it's true, and I've thought about it, of, how we're winning all these close games.
Right.
I do think obviously the positive being that we're winning these close games. But, when you watch teams like I feel us having played some close games helped us out against Buffalo, because Buffalo blows so many teams out.
Yes.
And we have lost close games, where I feel like if we're in a situation in the playoffs, what we've had to deal with all year, pretty much every game, except for our 2 losses so far, is that we've been there and we know how to stay under composure. We've had clutch plays, whether it be from the offense or the defense. So, hey, who knows? Even though we're squeaking wins, that could come to benefit us against another team who hasn't had to face, that much down the stretch in the fourth quarter. So
I like that take much better. Jokes aside, I'm going to say it like this. On average, they're an average defense because they give up way too many yards to be constituted as a good, much less great defense. But situationally, they make plays. Again, I'll go back for the last 2 games. Against New England, first drive, they look like hot trash.
Yep.
Right after we take the ball and score a touchdown, 5 plays, they come right back. First drive of the second half, they look like trash. The rest of the game, they held the New England Patriots to 4 field goals. They held the New England Patriots scoreless from the middle of the third quarter on. Yesterday, the Jets scored 1 touchdown and 5 field goals. They got into the red zone 5 times, and the touchdown was on 4th down, and he barely got in. So all I'm saying is that I've been saying it for a few weeks. Maybe there's a method to the madness. And yes, the reason we're all concerned about it is what happens when you're not playing a good, not great team like the Jets in the playoffs. Because as Kyla said, their most likely division round opponents are Dallas, Philly, and possibly San Francisco, although I don't know what that team's going to be now.
You'll be San Fran. I'll say it now.
I don't even know if San Fran will get to the divisional round now that both of their top 2 quarterbacks are out for the year. But having said that, I still feel that at some point, beat somebody you're better than in the playoffs. Win a game you're not slated to win. Mm-hmm. We always talk about as Vikings fans, well, they won the games they're supposed to win because they were straight up more talented than the teams they faced, and they lost the games where the other team was more talented. That's kind of the mediocre mentality that as Vikings fans, we're just so used to because that's what they typically do. A couple of times this year, they lost to teams that they were supposed to lose to. And a couple of times this year, by the skin of their teeth, by winning on the margins, by being situationally clutch, they've beaten a couple teams that they're better than. To me, if I'm thinking about where I would level my satisfaction of saying, okay, that was a good season, it was worth it. Listen, when I walked out of the Metrodome after the Dirty Birds beat the Vikings in 98, I would have been an idiot to say that the season was a waste. It wasn't as satisfying as we wanted it to be because they just looked unstoppable and unbeatable, but for one game against Tampa Bay where you went up against Tony Dungy, who knew Dennis Green very well because he was his understudy. Mm-hmm. But satisfied? No. So again, if they lose in the divisional round, I won't call it a failure unless they get blown out 41.
If it's Dallas-esque, yeah.
But I don't know that I would call it success either. I would call it meets expectations, right in the middle. But that's just me. Having said all that, we've talked enough about where the Vikings are going. Let's circle back a little bit. Yesterday, I'm gonna call the Justin Jefferson Sauce Gardner a draw. I mean, Justin Jefferson, 45 yards. That's clearly a win. He did get in the end zone, though. But I'm still baffled by this offense. You score 20 points in the first half. You do nothing in the third quarter for the 12th time this year. Actually, no, they had 1 or 2 good third quarters, but whatever. Then they come out on that one drive in the fourth quarter, and they look like world beaters. They look like the 98.
They do it every time.
Bam, bam, bam. Kyla, I'll start with you. Why is this offense so infuriating? Why do they disappear?
It's baffling and, like, I don't know what to say anymore. You know, at the beginning of the season, it was kind of like, all right, you know, Kevin O'Connell, first-year head coach.
Right.
They'll figure this out. Because you're right. Like, that first drive, was it, in the fourth quarter? They did look unstoppable. Yeah. And it's like, I don't understand how, you know, like, often it's the first drive of the game even, where they just march down the field with complete ease and get in the end zone. And then we'll take, like, a quarter, 2, maybe even 3. Sometimes it feels like off. And I just don't understand how we can look so good to start the game and just completely disappear because, I mean, as much as the defense has been clutch, like, we're going to win with the offense. Like, if we're going to make a run in the playoffs and, like, there's no, I mean, I don't want to sound selfish because the Jets are a really good defense.
Yes, that's very, very true.
We need like number one. Yeah.
It's also frustrating, like, in a way, because it's like we've seen, as we watched yesterday, and we know they could have done so much more than that. So it's just frustrating. And, like, I don't know what to say. It's so late in the season now. And I'm like, it baffles me how they haven't been able to figure this out yet, just taking multiple quarters off. It's ridiculous.
Mike, let me set you up and I'll let you go. First half, Vikings possessions, field goal, punt, touchdown, field goal, kneel down at halftime. Second half, punt, touchdown, punt, kneel down, end of game. That's too inconsistent. Coupled with what we've just got done talking about, with how our defense is, you're not beating anybody better than you if you're not more. We talk about the defense needs to be more consistent. So
They were yesterday.
They were consistent about giving up tons of yardage up to the red zone and then clamping down. And maybe that's just how they're going to be until maybe they get everybody back healthy, where they get all their corner with Dantzler, and hopefully Evans comes back in and gets another concussion possibly. But,
well, he's out now.
Yeah. Yes. So who the heck knows how long he's going to be on the pine. But to me, you've got to do more consistently. That doesn't mean we expect touchdowns on every drive like it's the 98 team, but you need to have more consistency than scoring 20 points and a half and then only scoring 7. Mike, what are your thoughts on this offense?
I think I'm not trying to sound arrogant, I think I kind of have an idea what it is. And yesterday, it was straight up Kirk missing Hawkinson. That was brutal. And that, I'm telling you, that changed the game in a bad way. But, Justin, you're not going to like this, but I'm going to say it. Justin needs to catch that pass. And I know you're going to be upset when I say that.
Which pass you're referring to, just so that I know.
After the Dalvin Cook run, they got the first down, 3rd and 2.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's in his hands. And he knows he should be catching that.
You talking about the deep one down the sidelines where he dove and it was just out of his reach?
No.
Was it the one that was slightly behind him?
Yes. So it was after the Cook run where they picked up the 3rd and 2.
Okay.
It was 1st and 10. It was in his hands. He catches that 9 out of 10 times.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
That was Kirk fighting back. And again, I'm not defending him. Let me make this clear. He missed Hawkinson. Horrible. Absolutely horrible. But we've talked about this, how he fights back and he doesn't let it phase him. That was the throw. And then JJ dropped it. And we know this offense. It takes this much. And it all crumbles.
Right.
It takes a couple bad plays. But this is the reason why the margin for error is so bad. And a lot of people aren't going to like this, but I don't particularly care. Adam Thielen's too slow. Like he's too slow. They need Jalen Reagor out there. I'm sorry. This might offend some people. KJ Osborne, for his ability, has had a brutal season. I'm sorry. He has had a brutal season. Aside from the Detroit touchdown all those weeks ago, which was massive and huge.
Right.
Tommy Reagor's can't do what he's doing.
I agree.
I'm sorry.
We see him more involved in the offense.
Tommy Reagor can, and this is the frustrating thing. Kevin O'Connell, if you don't want to bench KJ Osborne, fine, split it. I've had enough. KJ's out there way too much. He's not putting up the production, and we've talked about this. What would Adam Thielen's best role be? As a wide receiver 3. That's what it would be. He is not a wide receiver 2 now anymore. No. And I'm not saying Reagor would be great. I don't think he would. I'd love to see it. But he'd be an upgrade on KJ at this point. I'm sorry. 2 explosive plays in 2 weeks now. KJ has done that almost seldomly the entire year.
Right.
Put him out there. I've had enough. I've wanted to see Reagor for weeks. He's played now, and he's delivered on the 6 offensive snaps he's had.
Yeah.
Put him out there, Kevin O'Connell. Enough.
I agree. It feels like Hutchinson and JJ are the only viable weapons
Kirk
has, and that's frightening because that's not enough. So I don't know why not. I feel like at this point I totally agree with you. I just don't see what the harm is in getting Reagor more involved at this point now.
And you traded for him, right?
Yeah, exactly.
No disrespect to KJ. He was a 5th round pick. You traded a 5th and a 7th round pick. At worst, if the 4th gets moved to a 5th, for Jalen Reagor. So it's not like you didn't value him.
Right.
Enough. Take the Band-Aid off now.
Yeah.
You said I was going to hate this, Mike. I'm going to give you one of those. Here's the deal. You've got a 1 in Justin Jefferson, and you got 3 threes in Thielen, KJ, and Reagor.
Yeah.
I'm not even suggesting that you go half and half with Reagor and KJ. I'm saying you should be doing thirds. I'm not saying that means I think that Reagor is willing of being the number 2 and getting the number 2 snaps. But what did we say in the offseason before we hired this coach and general manager? No special treatment for legacy players. Remember that? Remember that one we looked at?
Yep.
I don't care that Adam Thielen is a Minnesota kid. And I don't care what a great story he has. He can have his 30 for 35 years after he retires. That's all well and good. And I'm not trying to kick Adam Thielen out the door like I think he's garbage.
That cap is not going to help him.
That's another discussion for the end of the year. But I'm saying for right now, for the rest of this year.
Yeah.
I'm saying it like this. If you take the number of snaps between the 2 and the 3, so we're taking Justin Jefferson out. We know he's going to get his. Okay. I would say that Adam Thielen needs to get 75% of the wide receiver 2 snaps. And in some rotation, Rieger and KJ should be taking the other 25% of the wide receiver snaps and the rest of the wide receiver 3s, unless we run them out. Now, I don't have an issue saying that Rieger shouldn't be more than KJ because he still has punt return duties, and you don't want to get your main punt returner hurt, so to speak, which would be unlikely being that he's rarely going to be anything more than a 3.
Can I say something on that?
I'll finish it real quick.
Okay, go ahead.
To me, you're right. Now, I'm not going to overreact to 2 straight weeks with one explosive play when, guess what? The defense isn't game planned for him. The defense is saying, hey, the other 2 or 3 guys are where we're going to focus it. And if we get beat by the 4th wide receiver, we'll have to learn with it. But so let's not go too far on
KJ's not fast, but Justin, KJ can't do it. I'm sorry. He's been out there how many snaps? What has he done? He catches a couple short to intermediate passes, and he doesn't even get to the chains most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I like KJ.
He got that 4th down. What didn't you like about that 4th down conversion he had yesterday? I'm messing with you, Mike.
Again, short to intermediate.
Yes.
Once again, I think he's a very solid player. And again, he's elevated from what he was. He was a 5th-round pick who was nearly out the door.
Right.
People forget, out of University or Miami, he was nearly out the door. Mm-hmm. He was this close to being cut last year. Last year. Remember, he had the horrible rookie season, and then he needed the year he had last year to save himself.
Right.
But on your punt return point, I'm sorry. If Rieger delivers, put Pappy out there, fair catch every punt. I could care less. I honest to God could care less. Fair catch every single punt. Everyone. Just put Pappy and literally say, Pappy, fair catch. That's it. Don't get hurt. Catch it, because we've done it a million times in Arizona. That's it. Honest to God, I wouldn't care.
We got 7 minutes left before the start of the Monday Night Football game, which means we'll probably be on for at least 7, if not 12, because that's just what we do. Having said all that, initial thoughts going into Detroit next week. We'll touch on that game. We'll touch on what we think for the rest of the regular season, where we end up seeing this team finishing. Kyla, I'll start with you. As we talked about earlier, Detroit's a 1-point favorite. Lemmy, thanks for joining. Appreciate you. I'll get your comments up here in just a moment. But your early thoughts on Detroit, Kyla?
My early thoughts in Detroit. I think we're going to have an incredible opening drive. We're going to punt a few times after that.
You're going out on a real big limb here, aren't you?
We're going to go into halftime with a 7-3 lead. And then Detroit is going to explode on us in the 3rd quarter. And we're not going to score any points at all. Then in the 4th quarter, Kirk leads the team to multiple touchdown drives. And we win it with a field goal.
Oh, yeah. Your guy, Greg Joseph, Mike. I haven't talked.
He made a 50-yarder. Let's go.
Yes.
He made a 50-yarder.
Yes,
finally.
But the 50-yard, Justin, like Steve Young and the monkey off his back, he needed that 50-yarder so bad. I'm not even kidding. You could see it in his face.
Or were you like?
Oh, no, I watch everyone. I either yell very loud or I'm calm. It's pretty normal. In all seriousness, look, I've never wanted the guy to fail. I want him to be the guy.
Right.
Good. Please do me a favor and be the Vikings kid for the next 10 years. But yeah, no, on to the Detroit game. In all seriousness, I'm gonna go bold here. I'm not kidding. I'm not being sarcastic. This is the moment we win by double digits, and I'm saying it now. Kirk throws for 4 touchdowns, minimum 4 touchdowns.
Ooh.
I'm not even kidding.
Mike,
Kirk cooks Detroit. Go look at his stats. It's coming. Detroit is very different or very similar to us. What's everyone doing? hyping up the Lions. You know how this story ends. How this story ends. It's the Detroit Lions. They had Calvin Johnson and Matthew Stafford and did nothing.
Well, wait a minute. Isn't that the Detroit Lions that we said is going to be playing meaningful games in late December?
I gave them a little – they're in the hunt. So Rap can at least have to eat that.
That's a bit of a stretch. They needed to.
Yeah, but they're in the hunt.
Let me get Lemmy's comments up here before I talk with him. Rager needs more playing time. KG's not lived up. So totally agree with you. We talked about that. But here's a good point. And I'll start with you on this one, Mike. Need to plan more runs. Get the O-line more physical. Get that sort of thing. How do we maybe incorporate the run a little bit more without it becoming the Mike Zimmer, Gary Kubiak run, pass, punt? I mean, we don't want to go back to 1995 here, do we?
Well, he does do it. I'll be honest, Justin. There's times I want to pull my hair out. He does a lot. He did. In fact, it was part of the reason there was times we had 3 and outs. He'd run it, then he'd run it again, then we'd be 3rd and 4, and then we'd punt because we didn't get it. So I'll say this. Maybe more option plays. Like with the receiver, because those have been good for us all year. Anything to get rid of screens, for the love of God.
No screens.
Please. If we literally I'm not even kidding. Rip them completely out of the playbook and just throw in option plays in around as runs, please, by all means.
If you can't pull off a screen now, you're not going to. So.
And Kirk has thrown interceptions on screens in the past. Yeah. That's the last thing we need.
I'm going to say it like this. First off, you tuned to Purple and Gold for days as well as the Purple Code. We've gotten on a roll, so I've forgotten to get to the presenting partners as well as the sponsors, but I'm going to say it like this. If you don't already subscribe, please subscribe to the Purple Code on YouTube, the Purple Code backup page on Facebook, as well as Twitter and TikTok. If you don't already subscribe to Purple and Gold for days, please do that for me as well. Not to plug, shameless plug here, but if you haven't already watched the Morning Musings on Purple and Gold for days, please do, because here's what I said regarding the screen pass. Don't run it the rest of the season, and all off season, I don't care who comes back, and I don't care what free agents you sign, and I don't care if you fire the defensive coordinator, bring it on scheme. The only thing you do in the offseason is learn how to run a GD screen pass, whether it's wide receiver screen passes, tight ends, or running backs. I do not care. Don't run another screen pass. It is abysmal. It's an abomination. It is pitiful that a team that has Kirk Cousins and Dalvin Cook and Justin Jefferson cannot execute a screen pass.
Tom Brady laughs at us. He did this his whole career. He did it his whole career. And we can't even do it once in a game.
Everybody.
Yes, they laugh at us. They're laughing at us. All right. Okay. Jokes aside, in all seriousness, with all that said, I think I got them all. The Detroit Lions destroyed the Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't know if that is a function of Detroit's getting better or Jacksonville's just that mediocre. Somehow Jacksonville beat Kansas City, and they stayed within 10 points of the Chiefs. So I don't know what to make of yesterday's result. All I know is this. You have the opportunity to win the division. You have the opportunity to put the Lions to bed once and for all. In order for the Vikings to not win the division, they would have to lose all 5 of the remaining games. Detroit would have to win all 5 of those remaining games, neither of which is going to happen. This division is already all but clinched. But you need to be the team that says, no, we are not going to let a divisional rival think that they still have a chance. We're not going to let a divisional rival like the Detroit Lions hold us off from taking care of business and clinching our division. So I'm going to say it like this. The Vikings are going to win this game. I'm not going to give score predictions, but I'll say, I don't care if Christian Darrisaw plays or not. I don't care if Caleb Evans plays or not. Heck, you could even limit Zadarius Smith if you wanted to. There is no reason you should be losing to the Detroit Lions. Let them feel high and mighty about their nice victory yesterday. Let them be overconfident. That's fine. You're not going to blow that team out because you can't blow anybody out. You can't blow your nose out, for crying out loud. So all I'm going to say is just win. Just win, baby. Just win. I don't care anymore. I'm done trying to think to myself, okay,
the game's going to go like this, and by the middle of the fourth quarter, we're going to be up by 17, and we can put Kirk Cousins and Dalvin Cook and Justin Jefferson on the bench, I am done. The only time they're going to be on the bench is week 17 and week 18 if there's nothing to play for. That's just the reality. That's just how it is. Get used to
the preseason next year.
Okay, right. For the rest of this season. That's just reality. Embrace it. Embrace that we are going to be dang near having heart attacks living and dying with this team. Embrace that this team is always going to put its own roadblocks in front of themselves for the heck of it. Maybe they're doing, I don't know if you knew this, Kyla, or either one of you, but there was an interview done, rest his soul, that Kobe Bryant did once. And he admitted, I forget who did it, but he even admitted that in high school, he would intentionally play like garbage against teams that had no business even being in the same gym with them, that they'd get up by 25 and then he'd start playing bad so that he could hit a game-winning shot.
Sounds like
that's the definition of Kobe Bryant.
That's the definition of arrogant. It's the definition of competitiveness, and it's the definition of just believing in yourself. But that's putting roadblocks in front of yourselves. And this is the NFL. This is not Kobe Bryant in high school where he's the most talented player in the gym. Stop putting roadblocks in front of yourselves. Now, yesterday, defensively, let's touch on this to wrap this. They had some pressures early. You know, for the last 3 weeks, they've been saving their blitz packages and their pressures for the fourth quarter. Maybe because they had Dalvin Tomlinson back and Caleb Evans, they felt that, okay, we can take some chances and blitz earlier. And they got to him. Was it once, I believe? I'll look it up.
I think it was literally once.
Yeah. What was it, Patrick Jones? Got him that one?
Yes.
Love Patrick Jones.
Let's give him some props for being the – no, he got 1 sack. He had 2 interceptions, 1 sack. Yeah. Okay. All I'm going to say is you have no business losing to the Lions.
No.
Regardless of how funky this team is, giving up tons of yards defensively.
The Lions do that too.
Jared Goff is slightly better than Mike White. Slightly better than Mike White at this point of his career. I know he went to a Super Bowl with McVay, but right now Jared Goff is about half a step above Mike White. Now, a lot of people saying, well, you gave up 369 yards. Yeah, on 57 pass attempts. You know, if it was 37 pass attempts, I'd say so because then that's 10 yards versus 6.5. But
yes.
You got no business losing to the Detroit Lions.
And the offense couldn't get off the field. How many 3? That's I'm going to be real. Mike White should have had 250 yards. You know, he had so many yards. We had 3 and outs at every single time where we could have put the game away. One last thing I do want to add, sorry. The caveat for this season, and why I think this season could be something that not enough people are talking about. What did we say, Justin, Kirk Cousins needs in the offseason? Playoff games at home.
Yeah.
I just needs to be said.
David, actually, the Vikings are +1 against the Lions. Right now, the Lions are favorites in this game. What's up, Too Evil? I knew you was going to get in here and stir the pot.
No.
Fire Donatel.
Who can I? I'm sorry. I wasn't going to rant.
I put that up there for you, Mike. I knew it was going to set you off.
Stop.
Thanks, Too Evil. I appreciate you.
Stop.
I knew
Who on earth are you getting in December to bring in as the DC? Stop.
Mike, he doesn't mean now. He means that.
Mike Penn is not coming in in December from the advisory role that he's had. Stop. No, but I don't think it's trolls, Justin.
No,
because I've seen this all year.
In this instance, Too Evil is. I've been.
I hope so.
In this instance, he's trolling.
Everyone knows we can't fire him at this point.
Because this is the thing.
I want to say. I'm
going to make this 2 seconds. 2 seconds. I'm done for the day. When you rush 4 and have no pressure, you can have any DC you'd like. Belichick could be our DC. If you cannot get home with 4, there's nothing you can do to contain that. There's nothing the DC can do. You blitz like crazy, it will burn you far worse. That's all I'm going to say.
Here's one thing I will say defensively. This Duke Shelley guy, he's solid, but and this was pointed out, and I forget who had the tweet. If you could, you know how a couple of years ago when we thought Irv Smith might have been something, and well, should we keep Kyle Rudolph or is he going to cost us too much? Well, let's keep Kyle Rudolph and let's let Irv Smith play between the 20s and let's have Kyle Rudolph be the red zone target. this dude, Duke Shelley, is kind of the inverse of that, where when you get to the red zone, he is solid. Now, granted, he doesn't have 60 yards of field behind him that he has to worry about, so it is a little easier when you're compacting your defense to 30 yards worth of field as opposed to however many other yards out there. But this guy's red zone defense, I tell you what, if he's not Xavier Rhodes, and obviously not because we just said that he can't do it all over the field. But in the red zone, this guy is pretty close to shutdown. I'll start with you, Kyla. What are your thoughts on old Duke boy here?
No, I'm impressed. I mean, we're like hella lacking in the secondary, and he's been really good. And yeah, was it the game? I can't remember now because they all blend in the same. Was it a game against Buffalo where he made a massive play in the end zone?
Yes, in overtime against their tight end.
Yeah, and I was like, dude, like that's a lot for him to come into that game and make a play like that. But yeah, he's succeeded my expectations. So,
Mike, don't address it. It was a joke for you. So
no,
move on.
What do you say? I caught on.
I'm laughing at Too Evil, Too Hopes.
Yes, Too Evil.
Detroit had 3 wins. Detroit had 3 wins.
Yes. All right. What do you say to Lemmy's comment? We lose Sunday. Maybe we are frauds. It's time to separate ourselves. And
I'll buy into that. Yes, they need to win Sunday. Absolutely, they need to win Sunday. On Duke Shelley. Justin, are you telling me the plan is to rotate corners in the red zone? That's how we're going to fix our defense?
No, I'm saying that plays into why this team is so stout defensively when they get to the red zone.
Oh, because Duke Shelley. That's what you're saying.
I'm saying that Duke Shelley, when you look at him and analyze his tape, when it's outside the red zone, he's a mediocre corner at best. There's a reason he's a 4th-string guy. But he has
Wilson.
But he has made plays in the red zone where it's just like, like Kyla mentioned, that pass deflection in Buffalo saved the game. That was a touchdown, and I couldn't believe it. I was just like, oh no.
Yeah.
And I was looking around for a flag because they like to be flag.
Especially Josh Allen.
Yes. So I got to give him his props in the red zone. Now, again, outside of just like the rest of the Vikings defense. I mean, Duke Shelley fits right in with our defense. Is mediocre outside the red zone and pretty stout inside of it. So I'm just going to say this. Too Evil is just joking with you. Okay.
I hope so. Because if he generally thinks buying a DC at 10-2 is a good idea, that's insanity.
I think if we ask nicely, Zimmer will come back to be a DC.
He's watching my old videos. He's watching my old.
Okay.
Oh, that's good.
If you didn't know he was messing with you before, you do not.
No, I know.
I've been on Rap's channel, and he's always stirring the pot. That's why I love Too Evil. He brings the comic relief, and he throws it in there. So, if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, Purple and Gold for Days, please do so. If you haven't already subscribed to the Purple Code, please do so, and also follow on Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. I'm going to give an early shout to my guy Rap at Purple Pocket Podcast. Every week on Wednesday, he has a post on his community page, and it's post the final score. I don't know. I believe nobody won the pot last week. It's free to enter. There's nothing to do with anything. You just put a score in there. Now you have to predict who's going to win. You can't say 27-24 and not say which team has the 27 and the 24. But if anybody gets the score right on, wins the pot. It's a little funny as there. If you don't already subscribe to Purple Pocket Podcast as well. Because this is a Purple Code production, and because we've just been on such a roll talking here, I have done derelict in my duties to give the sponsors some love here. So let's get that on the way here one more time. We got to thank Rinaldi's Pizza and Pasta. They're in Woodbury. They are right off the intersection of I-494 and Valley Creek Road. My apologies. As well as Nautical Bowls. They're located in Woodbury as well. They are located on Hudson Place, and that's off the intersection of I-94 and Woodbury Drive. Final thoughts, Mike. Where do you see this team ending up? And then we'll swing to Kyla there. They're 10-2 right now. Give me your quick prediction. We don't need to go game by game, but what do you think their final record is going to be at this point?
Well, if we go 15-2, I really think we should fire Ed Donato. No, in all seriousness. I think that the Vikings – see, this is where it's tough because the inner PTSD wants to put an extra loss because it has to. That's
Yeah.
what it does.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Putting me on the spot. I'm going to go. I have to do it. 14-3.
So only one more loss. Okay, Kyla, what say you?
I think we lose at least one more, possibly two, but no more than that.
I'm going to say it like this, with the caveat of the Chicago game not meaning anything in playing backups. What I said on my preview video and the preview show yesterday with Dave, the Jets of the last 6 games were the toughest team on the schedule. The Jets are better than the Lions. The Jets are better than the Colts. They are better than the Giants, and they for dang sure better than the Packers and Bears. Now, will the Packers maybe try to say, you know what, we're going to try to put a loss on our division rival to maybe, I don't know if players feel the same way that fans do. Obviously, in the past, if we had been playing the Packers and they're the ones in our shoes, we want to say, hey, let's get a win versus the Packers and maybe keep them from being the number 1 seed. So maybe that. But sans them not playing their starters in Chicago, they should not lose another game. If you beat the Jets, post New England, post a tough game against Dallas, post a victory against Buffalo, going 3-1 in that gauntlet, there is nothing on the rest of the schedule that should be an L for this team here. I got a couple more comments here. We'll see if they're just trying to get you going. I'll put up Let Me Smith first. We played too soft between the 20s. If Donatel doesn't get it, we will get bounced in the first round. That's not necessarily untrue.
No.
We're not disagreeing with that. We're saying that at this point, it doesn't do any good to talk about firing him this year. We're saying that, and again, I'm not falling on the sword for Ed Donatel, but what I have said in a couple of my videos was maybe this is just how he feels he has to play with this personnel, which is instead of taking chances, and some would say, well, you're better off just blitzing, and if you get burned, how's that any different?
That's way worse.
That's worse because you cannot be clutch situationally by playing all that. You have to roll the dice once in a while.
You remember when the Vikings blitzed last year in Green Bay and allowed a touchdown against Green Bay and allowed a touchdown in 15 seconds? Yeah. You'll see that a lot, people. I'm telling you. This I do want to add. This is the thing. Like, I'm not trying to be a hater here. Zadarius Smith has been invisible the last 2 weeks.
The last 2 weeks, yes.
Like let's not blame Ed Donatel for something he literally can't control. What do you want him to do? He's an old man. You want him to go out there and go and get sacks? It's not happening. When you rush for people, this is basic football 101. You need to get pressure with 4. If you don't, you're in big trouble.
Kyla, anything to add to that?
I'm good.
Mike, we missed you last week. Kyla and I held it down as best we could. But
no, I wasn't here last week.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
you're right.
I was 2 weeks ago. I was gone.
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, Mike wasn't here. Yeah.
You start to lose track of, when your goals.
That's because every game is the same. So
every game's the same. Yeah.
Right.
It's just all the same.
We're stuck in a time warp continuum.
That is going to be it for this edition of A Day with Mike and Kyla, rebranded as Skol for Days with Mike and Kyla. Thanks again, everybody, for joining us. Join the Purple Code tomorrow for Dave and Rap, as well as the Cast of Thousands. Grade 8 on Wednesday, Casey, and on Thursdays, SK and Rap Saturday night, and somebody Sunday morning. Who the heck knows? Whoever is able to. We always find a way to get somebody on here. But if you don't already subscribe to the Purple Code, please do. They're the ones who give us this platform. They're the ones that made all this happen, and they're the ones that we are eternally grateful for. That's the Purple Code on YouTube, Purple Code backup page on Facebook because the original got hacked and destroyed. But the Purple Code on Twitter, Twitch. I'm Justin. I'm at Purple and Gold for Days. Thank you so much for joining us here. We very much do appreciate everybody who's in the chat, even Too Evil to Hope, who is always, always, always stirring the pot. What about your show? I wasn't informed, Evil. You'll have to help me with that one on Rap's chat next time. But jokes aside, everybody, thanks for joining us. The Vikings are 10-2. We need to celebrate. No negativity, Mike. Okay, maybe concerns.
That's Too Evil's fault, not mine.
Yeah, of course it is. Thanks again kindly for joining us, everybody. Skol. Oh, no. I almost forgot our outro.
I was
Mike.
gonna say.
I almost did it again. Hey, Day with Mike and Kyla. We just want to see the Vikings win what? One Super Bowl just once before we die. And yes, we had that mantra before Purple Daily. Thanks again, everybody, and have a good night.